You're listening to the official podcast for the Games Institute. We are a multidisciplinary research center located at the University of Waterloo, studying all things games and interactive technologies.
One by one, we'll sit down with our researchers to talk about what they're studying and what they're playing. No jargon, no word counts, just the cool stuff.
Hello, and welcome back to the Games Institute podcast. I'm not sure when exactly you'll be listening to this, but at time of recording, currently, we are in the midst of the COVID-19 outbreak. And so what that means is we're actually recording earlier than scheduled with our guest, Max.
Hi.
Because Max is going to be heading back to Germany. We are going into self-isolation as of this afternoon. So this
The
is
world
happening.
is falling apart.
So this is happening a little bit sooner than expected, which means that we don't have the questions prepared like we normally do. But either it's going to be excellent and we'll do this the same way moving forward forever, or it won't be, or it won't be quite as good, in which case you're going to have to carry the weight. You ready for that, Max?
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Definitely.
oh, I didn't even say who I am. I'm Marisa Benjamin, one of your hosts.
And I'm the co-host, Tobin Rossico.
There we go. We're already off script. Can you please introduce yourself, Max?
Yeah, well, hi, my name is Max. I'm, as you said, from Germany. I'm doing a PhD there at the German Research Center for Artificial Intelligence and the Ubiquitous Media Technologies Lab at Saarland University. And my PhD roughly focuses on like using gamification or game elements to induce behavior change and on ways to tailor those game elements or gamification strategies to users. Yeah.
Before we fire our icebreaker question at you, let's actually start with why you are even here in the first place.
Oh, yeah, sure. So I'm here to do a personalized gamification project together with Gustavo Tondello and Leonard Nake. And yeah, there we are basically investigating whether you can use games or gameful applications to predict your user type, which is a quite useful, so the Hexide user type, which is a quite useful tool to personalize gamified systems. But yeah, as of now, you need to fill out, let's say, a 24 items questionnaire, which is, of course, good if you're doing research with the tool.
Mm-hmm.
But if you actually want to use it in like a game or gameful application, it might be a little bit cumbersome to fill out a questionnaire. It might break the immersion of the gameful application, so we're trying to predict this based on your in-game or your behavior in gameful applications.
Sounds very cool.
Yeah, we'll definitely get it more into that later on. But to get to know you more as like a game player and maybe to find some kernels of where your love of games come from, can you think of some of your earliest experiences with games in your childhood? This can be board games, card games, video games, all that kind of stuff.
Tag.
Sure.
Yeah, playground games.
Yeah, so I think so in terms of like digital games, I think the first experience I had was like with the Game Boy Color at this time.
Yeah.
What color? I had pink.
It was purple.
I had a teal one.
Yeah, I had a purple one, and I was playing a lot of Super Mario, of course, and then I got a computer and I started playing Age of Empires a lot. And I think after that, like, then I got an N64, or maybe I'm messing up like the order of events, but I got an N64 somewhere in my childhood, and I was playing a lot with that. So like also Super Mario and Super Mario Kart, of course, Super Smash Brothers, stuff like that. And then later on I got a PlayStation 2 and like kept on playing computer games. And I think my, let's say, most active time playing computer games was in my teenage years, so like 14 to 16 maybe, where I was playing a lot of like literally every single free-to-play online role-playing game that
lots
was
of
out
RuneScape
there.
and Ragnarok Online, that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, awesome.
And also like Guild Wars and games like this. So yeah.
How many hours per day, per week were you playing at these various points in your life?
Maybe I shouldn't tell this.
I'm wondering this, like, are you playing just in the car, like while your parents are driving you places, or?
No, I was actually playing in my room at this time during nighttime when no one was awake, so was really playing a lot. So I can remember like messages from the games telling me to stop playing because I've been playing 16 hours.
That's
so
I hate
really crazy,
when they do that. Like, Netflix goes, "Are you still watching?" Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely a lot.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
And walk us through now your academic biography.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hard turn, but then we'll tie it back together.
So, like, where should I start? So should I start like in high school or should I start at
Whatever
university
feels
level?
important to you.
Okay. Yeah, then maybe I should start in high school. So
Cool.
I think so. I studied computer science, and I think the main reason for that was because I was one of the first students that were able to like choose if they want to have computer science as their main subject in school. And this was in the 8th grade, I think. And there I had to decide whether I want to go with Spain as like a third foreign language or with computer science. And I decided for computer science, and I think that's like where it all changed, because actually I never liked math, and then I start to like math. So it's it was quite important thing or quite important decision, I think. And then I also wanted to do stuff with people. So like I was very interested in psychology and also computer science, because I was since then like programming and developing stuff a lot. So that's because then I basically decided that I want to study media informatics, which is the perfect combination of psychology and computer science.
Oh, cool.
And I did this in my bachelor's and my master's. So yeah, that's what I'm doing since then. So, and yeah, HCI or human computer interaction as such is a quite big topic in media informatics, and so that's what I'm doing my PhD as well.
Where did you study for your undergrad and master's? And I guess where are you currently studying?
At Saarland University. So it's a university in the southwestern part of Germany, and it's, I think, the most. So actually, computer science is quite well known in at Saarland University, but I think that's the only subject which is quite well known at this university. Okay. So it's a quite small, state, and actually, I think no one knows this university, but now you know.
There you go.
Can you give us maybe a couple of cities that are near you so that we can geographically locate?
So I always say Frankfurt, because that's where people basically start their journey in Germany. So, but it's actually quite true. So it's maybe a 1.5 hour trip from Frankfurt to go there. So quite close to the French border. So you can go by train to Paris in under 2 hours if you want. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's good to know. Did you always suspect that you wanted to continue with academia and go all the way to PhD?
No, not always. I think during my bachelor's, I've been doing a lot of side projects where I've been developing stuff, and I really thought about doing like a startup or maybe work on my own thing. But during my bachelor's thesis, I worked on a research project together with my colleague that I'm still working with, so Pascal. And I think this somehow changed my mind, because I was really interested in like understanding how like humans interact with computers and all the like questions that are involved, and figuring out what makes in this specific case, like what makes a good game or what makes an interaction to be good for users. So that's when I started to then I basically decided to do my master's, and I since then stayed at the same topic, like it was always gamification.
Interesting.
Did you have experiences playing video games in your room that led to this? Like you said that you were interested in like psychology and stuff, but have you reflected on any influences of that, and whether it's a game or maybe a match between somebody where you said, there's something here that I want to dig deeper?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, it was so as I said, I since I basically decided to go for computer science in school, I've been programming and developing stuff a lot, and of course a lot of games. And the first thing that I was always doing, even if I had just had a very rough idea or prototype, I sent it to my friends and everyone and made them to try out this game.
Okay.
And I think this is somehow related to what I'm doing today. So I was really curious to understand what they like or what they dislike in like the decisions that I made when like implementing the game or conceptualizing the game. And it even, I mean, I also did like a whole social community for my school, which used like, I didn't know that at this time, but like now I know it. So which basically used a lot of gamification elements.
Right.
And I really saw that this drives people. And so I think this had an influence on my decisions or what I considered interesting.
What are some of the games that you've developed, or maybe just ideas that you had that didn't come to fruition, that you really liked, and if you had the opportunity, would go back to develop further?
Yeah, so I came up. So I basically did every sort of game, like from a 3D shooter game to whatever little quiz games, and I came up with a game where you had to place bombs in a really tiny bombs, and it was like 2D based graphics, so not very sophisticated, but where you had to place bombs in order to destroy certain objects, and you had to make the decision of where you want to place those bombs very strategically. So
cool.
I liked this a lot somehow, but it was not really, I don't know, it was not the game that my friends liked. So
was that interesting to you?
Yeah, it was, because I thought, oh my god, this is so cool, because you really have to think about how you want to place those bombs, and they just said, this is totally boring. I mean,
I relate to that, because I've had those moments where you're in love with something and you go to show your closest friend and they're like, oh, not my thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And that to me is how I best wrap my head around like the personalization elements of games, which is what you study.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it has nothing to do with like the person in their real life. It's more like just their personal preferences, which is interesting. Can you provide maybe a better definition of that? Of like, well, first, actually, let's provide a definition of gamification from your perspective, because we've had Gustavo on and he provided a definition. And then as a follow-up to that, just spoiler alert, we'll go back to this personalization thing and get you to define that too. Okay,
so of course, when defining gamification, I would refer back to the definition by Leonard Nacke and Sebastian Lieterding, of course. No, but seriously, I think it's the definition that is most, prominently used and most widespread in academia. So it's basically means using game design elements in a non-game context, which is pretty short, but I think or captures pretty well like what you're doing. So you're taking you try to evoke experiences that people have in games in a non-game context to increase their user experience or to make them help them reach their goals that they may not have much motivation to reach. So that's the whole idea.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And now, what is the personalization element to this?
So as you said, and I think as you can see in like all those games and all those people playing games, you often see that certain game elements or certain even games are either successful or not for certain populations. So, and that's what that's what we also saw in very recent publications in this field, that people actually have different preferences for certain game elements, and they so for example, research found that personality traits to some extent explain this, but also things like age. So people that are older, maybe not into competition, for example, as are younger people. And Gustavo Tondello actually came up with this Hexar framework, or he actually didn't came up with the framework, to be honest. Andrei Machevsky came up with the framework, but Gustavo Tondello and colleagues, they developed a validated survey to assess your Hexar user type. So you got 6 different user types, and they can be assessed with this survey. And it was shown that they have different preferences for certain gamification elements. So and actually it's the only framework out there that it's specifically developed for gamification and not for games, because there are certain gaming or gamer types, but they usually apply to really fully fledged games, or to if you'd take Bartle's user type, the Bartle user types framework, it basically applies to multiplayer massive online role-playing games.
Yeah, is that the one that's Killer Talker?
Yeah,
the 4.
Yeah, the 4.
Okay.
Yeah,
I can't remember them off the top of my head, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and so actually, if you want to do something with Gameful experiences, the Hexar framework is the only one that is specifically targeted to this.
Okay.
So.
Oh, I actually didn't realize that there was that distinction there.
Yeah, me neither. In the previous interviews we did, I always thought it was kind of, you could apply both to inside and outside a game.
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, a lot of research still uses different gamer types or user types, but I think there's a difference in fully fledged games versus gamified or gameful applications. So it totally makes sense, at least in my opinion, to have a certain framework that is specifically developed for gamification.
Interesting. What I'm liking about all of these responses is I can very clearly see how the things are tying together for you. Because in your early responses, like what we do is we leave the questions, at least the icebreaker ones, very open-ended to sort of see what happens when you organically decide how to shift them and tell a story. So you're talking about the consoles and the games as well in this like intertwined thing, which we haven't really had before from a guest, somebody who fluidly talks about like both the medium through which they're playing the game as well as the different games they're playing on those mediums itself.
Okay.
And then you're also talking about other interests you have, like gamification, creating games too, and then looking at how people interact with them. So I don't know if you know this about yourself, but what I'm noticing about you is that you kind of talk about more of a holistic experience. You talk about the people, the games, and the consoles.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting.
No, I actually never reflected on that. I think so.
I mean, if you
But
want,
it's interesting,
if you want, go back and listen to some of the other guests. The way that they respond to it, it's completely different. Like some people will talk about only the people they were playing with, and then the game becomes a very small part of their story.
Okay.
But then that ties into their research too. So yeah, it's really, really cool to see how how your responses mirror your love of research now, your research passions now.
Yeah, right. I actually never thought about that, but somehow it makes sense. So maybe the story was like beginning when I was developing games or so. I don't know. So yeah, that's quite cool to know.
Do you have actually a point that you can remember when you realized maybe that you can turn your love for games into something that you can pursue in research?
So this was, I think it was a little bit, so there was not really a point where I would say that this like came to my mind or so. It more like developed naturally, I would say. So I just saw this, or I just met with Pascal and we discussed at this time which kind of bachelor thesis I want to do, and I at this time saw like there was a like a marketing campaign by Volkswagen, and they had like different gamification stuff around in like real places. So they had like piano stairs and stuff like that. And there was also a project about waste recycling or trash separating and stuff like that. And I found this quite interesting, and I thought, actually, that's an ongoing problem, and maybe you can use any kind of gamification or game elements to help people learn how to how to separate waste correctly. And so that's how it all started. But I think there's not like a point where I would say that I realized I could use this for my research.
It was like the convergence of some good serendipitous moments.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Speaking of that, could you share how you became aware of the Games Institute and maybe some of your journey to actually bring you physically here, how you connected with some of the main players here?
Yeah, so I think I know I basically know the Games Institute since my bachelor thesis, to be honest, because I started, sure.
This is very cool for me, because you're coming from Germany, Frankfurt.
Yeah.
Proximal.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay.
But I think if you're working in the field of gamification, you know like the definition of gamification. And
I want that as a soundbite.
And then of course I followed the work by Leonard, and also in my PhD of Gustavo, of course, because he does very relevant things to me. And so I also know the affiliation, and I know that there's the Games Institute, and I know this, I think, since quite some time now. And the whole story was, or how I got here, I met Leonard at some conferences, and I think at Kai, so last Kai 2019.
I'm laughing because this is the one networking story that actually worked.
Okay,
you know what I mean. We're always told go to conferences and like talk to people and stuff, and like yours actually worked.
Well, Leonard did this with Stuart and Katya and Kata. Like
maybe it's Leonard then.
Oh yeah, like you,
maybe he's the one who's
that man, and you like you're all evangelists now for networking at conferences. It's great.
No, I'm really bad in networking. So really, I'm really not good in networking and small talk. So. Actually, we didn't talk at this conference, so I didn't meet Leonard at this conference personally. But of course, I talked to him at some previous conferences. But then he wrote on Twitter. He wrote me a message and asked me, "Oh, I actually wanted to talk to you, but now the conference is over. So maybe I don't know. Do you want to come over and work on a kind of joint research project?" And
did you do this all in one 240 character tweet?
Yeah, he did, I think. So I think it was one tweet.
It's a boilerplate one. Just insert name. Come work with us.
Yeah,
That's funny.
I think so. Yeah.
That's really cool. Interesting.
Yeah, I would have never guessed that that's how it came to be. I didn't know Leonard was doing so much outreach. That's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I always love hearing that people have heard his research and other Games Institute research, of course, from other sides of the world.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah, I mean, you do a lot of cool research, so yeah.
So there's our soundbite.
There you go. We'll splice the two together.
That's great. Yeah. And what have you done since you arrived? You've been here now since mid-January?
No, beginning of so the 1st of February, like 6.5 weeks. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Feels like that was yesterday.
Yeah, that's really fast.
Yeah. So, you mean like in terms of research or in terms of what did I do in Canada?
I mean, once again, open-ended.
Both, okay.
Yeah, take this how you will.
Okay, so in terms of research, I think we worked on this personalization project that I just told about, where we try to use gameful applications to predict a user's hexed user type. And we've been in touch for this via Skype, like I think even half a year before I arrived here, and I got the system and all the gameful applications implemented when I've been arriving here. So the only thing to do was conducting an online study, which was done in like 2 days or so. So it
Cool.
yeah. So after I think the first 3 weeks, I was writing the paper. And now I'm working on different gamification projects here at the Games Institute and just supporting a bit. And what did I do in Canada? Well, I've been to the St. Jacobs Farmers Market, of course. Yeah.
What was your impression of that?
That was pretty cool. So I liked it a lot. So of course I had those apple fritters.
Oh, yes.
And it was a bit overwhelming because there's everything there. So I saw like a store.
Did you go on a Saturday when it's like packed? Oh, yeah.
But I've been there at I think almost before it closes, so 2 hours before it closed.
Yeah,
so it was not that crowded, but
yeah, that would be overwhelming to try and tackle that space.
Yeah, so I was really surprised to see like a store selling video games next to a store selling meat next to a store selling vegetables and fruits. So it's like everywhere.
It's
everything
very
there.
strange, very strange.
But it was very cool, so I like this a lot. I've also been to Niagara Falls, of course, and checked out the falls.
Yeah.
And then I really enjoyed the time with people here, so I've been to different pubs and just really had a nice time.
Did they take you to Molly's?
Yeah, to Molly's Irish Pub, yeah.
A classic. And did you make it your way over to Toronto at all?
No, not yet. So actually I wanted to do this on the last weekend, so I was actually flying back on Saturday, but then my flight got cancelled due to the coronavirus virus thing, and now I'm flying back on Wednesday. So yeah.
Well, at another point in your life, make sure to come back and check out Toronto.
Definitely come back.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Not as beautiful as the cities in Germany and the rest of Europe, but Toronto, there's some stuff to see. A handful
definitely.
of things.
Casa Loma.
Medieval times.
Okay.
Sponsor us, no. Well, that's good. You did Niagara Falls. You did St. Jacobs Farmers Market. I think those are the two things, at least outside of Toronto, that have international landmarks.
In February and March.
Yeah.
Because I've become a fan of the escarpment, which is like what leads into Niagara Falls. So it's where like the plates have shifted.
Oh, okay.
And it's a really cool hike. And there's like these caverns that go straight down into hell. Like there's just no bottom. It's really scary.
I might have only done that once, but I'm thinking about things that have international reputations because I know
the farmers market does.
It does.
Yeah,
really?
It does.
Actually, I've had some folks visit from Israel, and they are excited to go to the St. Jacobs Farmers Market.
That's wild.
Yeah, in my Airbnb, I also got guests that solely came for the farmers market. So
Wow.
I did not know that.
So you're staying at an Airbnb this whole time?
Yeah.
It's fortunate then. I mean, if we can say anything related to fortune, that your flight is earlier rather than later, I guess.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
But that is too bad. Will you come back to Canada at some point?
Yeah,
in
I
your
hope
life?
so. So I definitely need to check out Toronto. So
yeah. And we can give you some other places to come and check out too.
Perfect. Yeah,
well,
sounds good.
And the Games Institute overall, I'll be honest, the desk that you're currently sitting in is not my favorite. But have you enjoyed like the general atmosphere, and what has that done for you?
Yeah, definitely. So I think what you I basically know what you're talking about. So my desk is a little bit like
it's a little bit further away from
yeah,
the
but
cluster of people.
so I still enjoyed it a lot. I mean, I've been going to. I think you have different like events. I've been to the how's it called, Brownback talks. So
Oh, cool.
I like them a lot. I also enjoyed like this weekly lab meeting that is going on, and this reading or writing review circle. So I think you have a lot of events where you can like really talk or discuss your research and get some new ideas by different people that are around here. Because I think one thing that I think is especially true for the Games Institute is that you have so many different backgrounds and disciplines here. So this is really cool, because in my group we're all computer scientists, which is of course quite cool in a way, but on the other side, I mean, it's actually quite interesting to discuss with people having different backgrounds, because they have different views on different research projects, and this really helps to get new ideas and new inspirations for new research projects. So I think
Okay, so with the concession that I am like asking you basically to promote the interdisciplinary aspect of the Games Institute, I'm curious if you have an example in mind about that type of thing, because it is rare to have an interdisciplinary space. And you coming from a computer science background, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of computer scientists don't usually like to interact with humanists and social scientists, etc. So if you have an example, I would love to hear it.
Yeah, I think so. First of all, I think HCI is per se very multidisciplinary. So I mean, it's basically psychology, computer science, and a lot of different, I think, disciplines involved there. And one example here, maybe like this new TD banking project that we have, where I'm working with John and Andrew. And I think John is like doing totally different stuff that I'm doing.
English PhD student.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thank you. And I think it's quite interesting to see how different the research work is. But I think this project is pretty cool, because we try to teach people to establish healthy money spending behavior, and he's trying to find some literature on like how you can actually teach them like those things, and I'm looking for ways which kind of gamification elements could be used to support this. So I think that's a quite cool combination, because I don't have any clue about his research, and I think maybe he has more of an idea of what I'm doing than I have about his research, but I think overall it's a cool collaboration and a cool project.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like that example. Thank you.
Yeah, that is a good one.
Let's dive in now to more of your primary study, or at least the one that you were primarily focusing on here, which is the trying to see if you can evaluate the player preferences based on the way that they interact with the game system.
Exactly, yeah.
So can you walk us through what that idea is responding to first and foremost, and then a little bit about how that study works?
Yeah. So as I said, the overall idea was to kind of get rid of the questionnaire, because if you are really like using, or if you're really kind of developing a gamified or gameful application, you don't want to start upfront telling people, we are personalizing the experience, please fill out a 24-item questionnaire here. So that's how the whole idea developed. So we thought it would be cool actually if you have any sort of gameful way of assessing the user type. And the hypothesis was, so to say, that we expected that people interact with those gamification elements that are most like most important or most preferable for them. And the whole study worked basically like this. So we had two gameful applications. So one gameful application was more like, I would say, a gamified version of the questionnaire. So it was more tied to the questionnaire. There we used actual statements which were from the questionnaire, and these statements were shown like in a gameful way. So they were underlined by like you had those some sort of illustrations that, for example, one item was I don't know, spending time with others or so. And then we had some sort of an illustration that illustrated this, so like a guy talking to people, for example. And in this Gameful application, you had 2 statements that were shown to you, and you had to click on the statement that is more important to you. But it was all like framed in a more gameful way than it is in a usual questionnaire. So this was one application, and the second Gameful application was really more about trying to figure out if you could use really like the in-game behavior of people to predict this user type. So there we had different gamification elements. So we had like a leaderboard, you could unlock badges, you could collect points, you had a little virtual character which was a little monster that you could feed donuts to make him happy. So we also had, did I miss something? I don't know.
Was there like a social aspect?
Yeah, a leaderboard.
Oh, leaderboard.
A leaderboard, yeah. And leaderboard, achievement points, virtual character, I think that's it, yeah. And then the idea was basically that people were free to choose which kind of gamification elements they want to interact with. Unlockables was the thing that I missed, so I knew that there was something missing. Yeah, so we also had unlockables, so you had like treasure chests that could be opened, and those unlocked like virtual items that differed in their rarity. And yeah, people were free to choose which kind of gamification elements they want to interact with, but they couldn't interact with all of them because the number of rounds that were played was restricted. So you couldn't like finish all of them.
Right.
So they had to like decide which kind of gamification elements are most, or they wanna follow and wanna complete. And we thought that this might give you a hint to like which gamification user type a certain user has.
Yeah.
Wow. How do you validate those studies afterwards?
Yeah, so of course we used the validated questionnaire, so the validated Hexad questionnaire first. So we showed them like the questionnaire and asked people to fill this questionnaire out. And afterwards they interacted with both Gameful applications. And
so it was
it was a within subject design.
Okay,
exactly.
Cool.
Yeah, but like the order of the conditions was randomized to like
the order.
The order. But it was
cool.
So every participant went through every condition. And we had 150 participants. And then we tried to come up with models to predict, so that basically took as an input the interaction behavior or the statements that were selected and tried to predict the user type. And this worked pretty well for the gamified version of the Hexad, so where you had those 2 statements. So there we had like, there we were able to show that the variance between the answers of the statements in the game and the Hexad user type is above 70%, which is pretty good. So they share a lot of variance, which means that, or which actually indicates that you could use this gamified version to predict the Hexad user type, because we were also able to show that it's more enjoyable and doesn't break immersion that much. And so, yeah, it has some benefits.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for the second Gameful application, where you just had those gamification elements, we also found that you can use them to predict the user type, but only like the shared variance was like 30%, which is not bad, but it's not really good enough, I would say, to use it instead of the questionnaire.
What is a good enough shared variance percentage?
So usually I think, so depending on which paper you look at, but there's some consensus that like above 60% is pretty strong. So I think 30% is like a medium effect. So which is quite okay to get some, I think, maybe to get some feeling about which gamification user type a certain user has, but it's not like you can say for sure, I would say. So also with like 70%, I wouldn't say it can replace the Hexad user types questionnaire. It's just meant as a practical tool if you want to really use it in a Gameful application and don't want to use questionnaires.
Like, let's say that the study calls for not compromising in enjoyment and immersion, then that could be a good choice. Yeah. So now, for both of these, is this a starting point? Because what I'm wondering is, do you think that there's any possibility that in the way that you were creating or running the Gameful application, could that be improved? Do you have any speculation as to maybe why it didn't work that you could take into the future and improve?
I think the whole problem always is that those gamification elements like points, badges, leaderboards, achievements, everyone has like some sort of imagination what it's like, but of course if you're implementing it, you create an experience, and this experience can be different in terms of how you really implement the gamification element. So previous work usually did not implement anything, so they usually used either storyboards or they just used text. So they asked people, do you like points, and then they rated this on a 5-point scale. But of course, I think, at least that's my opinion, it's a totally different thing if you really like experience a gamification element. So I could imagine that there is, of course, we introduced some bias in the way we implemented the gamification element. So of course we try to stick to or have a look at literature and see how they used it, and try to condense this into one gamification element that is basically what people would expect. But I think as soon as you start putting things into practice, you have to make decisions, and those decisions could, of course, affect the results. So, yeah.
Would then it be fair or maybe correct to say that the more that you run these and the more that you kind of tweak the design and other researchers come in and also introduce different gameful applications, that you could get closer to a more precise understanding of how it could maybe replace one day the Hexet model?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe I think replacing like the questionnaire is hard and really needs a lot of work, and I'm not sure if it's actually like a good idea to replace the questionnaire, because I think the questionnaire is very good to be used in science, because if you're running experiments, I think it's totally fine if you use a questionnaire. But I think what is actually quite interesting, or what I think is pretty cool, is that you can create or should create a tool that can be used in like really applications that are out there. So like giving a practical tool to assess user types that does not break the immersion or user experience that much as a kind of a questionnaire would do. So I think I personally think that it's always a cool thing to take all those very, let's say, basic research stuff and put it into practice and see if it works. And I think this could actually be a tool to do that. So I think,
cool.
Yeah.
If I were to be jumping in and running a study, I just had a hilarious idea.
Okay.
This is like Marisa if she was a researcher, which I'm not, and so this will never work, but like as a fun thing. What about an observational study where you go into Dave & Buster's? Have you been to a Dave & Buster's?
No, I haven't been.
Okay, it's like a giant arcade.
Oh, okay.
But a lot of the games, they're more sophisticated than just arcade games. So you have, you have like Monopoly turned into an arcade game, but then there's also Rock'em Sock'em Robots, and they're big. And then there's the racing games, shooting games, fishing games, and then there's like the lottery style games where you spin a wheel and hope that you land on something that gives you tickets. But what's really cool about it is that there's so much variety, and they do a really good job with adaptations of games that a lot of people are already familiar with into something that they can play in a stationary arcade cabinet.
Yeah, that sounds...
What would be funny about it is to do it as an observational study, is to see how people interact with these machines and maybe like get them to respond to how much they liked it compared to everything else over time. But I feel like that would be a fun way to see if you can figure out people's player preferences based on their preferred interactions with games, and then later reports on how much they enjoyed it.
So sounds like a cool idea, I think. So I think what you could do, so I think this is more related to games again, so it's maybe not that much related to gamification as such.
Good
but
point.
I think to understand like gaming preferences also, I think this would be a cool study. So to see whether or how people interact. I think it would also be interesting to see how they interact as a group. So if they go there not on their own, but with different people, which kind of experiences certain arcade games evoke when playing together. So I think you could get a lot of useful insights from doing an observational study in some sort of with some sort of arcade games.
I was just there on Sunday, so I've got it on my brain.
Yeah, maybe you should do that. Yeah. Sounds like a cool idea.
Where do you hope that your research is going to go? Because, I already missed that connection that like we're talking specifically about gamification. So which gamification applications do you envision that will benefit the most from this research?
Yeah. So you mean from the research that we just talked about? So
the research of implementing new ways to evaluate player preferences.
I think it's actually quite broad tool that could be used in any sort of gameful application.
Good.
But so personally, I like the whole health domain a lot. So usually I do some research on personalization stuff, but I also try to apply it in the health domain or in different domains and try to really see how certain prototypes behave in the wild, or if you deploy them as a smartphone application or so. So I think, as I said, always the transition of like doing really theory-driven work and basic research into like really the reality is very, very cool and very useful. So I'm very interested in also applying the research somewhere, because if you never apply your research, I mean, it doesn't make sense to do it. So at least that's my opinion.
Well, we love that. We love that here. That's part of the core ethos of the Games Institute. We're always trying to think about how it helps people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So actually, one of the prototypes that we've been presenting at KaiPlay was about this germ destroyer application. So where where we used gameful applications or a gameful application to motivate people to wash their hands for a longer time, which is now, of course, like a very relevant topic. So this was one example where we took like really like knowledge that we had from basic research or theory and thought about what could we do, and came up with the idea of building a whole prototype and a gameful application that encourages you to wash your hands for long enough time, because apparently people don't do that. So
well, it's a surprisingly long time. Like 2 minutes of washing your hands feels very long.
Oh, 2 minutes is really long. So usually I think most papers and also most institutions recommend washing hands for 20 seconds. So that's like...
Oh.
You brush your teeth for 2 minutes.
I've been brushing my teeth for 20... No, I'm kidding.
But this is also a very long time. So people totally overestimate the time they're washing hands. So they think they're washing hands for much longer time than they actually do. So this is what research has found. So the average hand washing duration is 4 seconds. So, which is pretty short. And we actually, when we deployed, when we deployed our system in the wild, so we tested it for 10 days in a public washroom, and there we also saw. So we had 5 days intervention phase with our system and 5 days without the gameful application. And we saw that without the gameful application, the average duration or the average hand washing duration was like 5 seconds, which was pretty much in line with the research. And once we installed it, it almost doubled to 9.8 seconds. So at least it had some effect. This was pretty cool. So
okay. I don't know about you, Tobin, but I'm visualizing scientists standing in washrooms recording how people wash their hands. So I'm going to need you, Max, to walk us through a little bit more about the procedure.
So I think in psychology, a lot of studies were conducted just as you said. So they had one observer there, and they were just standing there with like a...
so they were. Yeah.
Yeah. And they were really like watching people and checking how long they washed their hands, which of course had an effect on the behavior, because they were washing hands for a longer time if there's a bystander. So this was also shown in research. But for our prototype, we wanted to build a system that is really like standalone. And we used a little microcontroller, which was Bluetooth enabled and which had 2 sensors. So we had one sensor which was checking whether hands are present or not, and one sensor which was checking whether water is flowing or not. And we 3D printed like a little device that you can like put on the water tap, and then just fix it with a screw. So quite easy to install. And then this data was sent via Bluetooth Low Energy to like I would say an iPad, where we had a gameful application running, and this gameful application showed germs. And as you were washing hands, those germs disappeared, and you killed those germs. And once you killed all the germs, you washed your hands for 20 seconds, and you got points for killing those germs. And we also got the points were shown on a daily basis. So you had some feedback, and once you're done, you saw like a little animation and a sound appeared, which basically told you that you now finished, or you now washed your hands for a long enough time and killed all the germs. So quite simple. It's not really like a game. It was more like a playful interaction, but quite effective. Yeah.
So the iPad would be kind of like where the mirror is. So each sink would have its own iPad.
Yeah.
So is that how the leaderboard got set up? It was like sink versus sink. That's what I was envisioning. So I was like, I'm always going to use that sink because we're in the lead or something like that.
That was also that would also be cool. No, we laser cut a stand for the tablet and just put it there. But I think if you would do it in a fancy way, you could use like a two-way mirror or something.
Yeah, wall mounted.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we just wanted to see whether it works or not. And to be honest, we totally underestimated the like ethical issues and privacy issues to install such a system in a more or less public washroom. So we had a lot of discussions with data protection officers and stuff, and we couldn't use. So at the beginning, we wanted to use the ultrasonic sensor to see whether hands are present or not, but we were not able to use it because you could also, basically you could also use the ultrasonic sensor to capture sound. So that's why we're not allowed to use this, and of course no optical sensors at all, so no cameras and stuff. So this was quite a challenge, but in the end,
already in the design, it sounds like you were extremely creative with getting around that. Like, how do you? So yeah, those ethical questions make sense to me. I was wondering where they were going to come in.
Yeah. So I think the whole game idea was pretty straightforward. So it was not like a very sophisticated game. It was more like a playful feedback. But we thought if you have people washing their hands, they don't have the time and they don't want to learn like a complex game. So we decided to keep it simple. And what I forgot to mention in the study is that we also had some support from some microbiologists that actually helped us in measuring the contamination of bacteria and germs on the door handle of the bathroom. And we also found an effect there. So this was pretty cool. So we were able to show that actually there were less germs or colony forming units on the washroom's door handle.
Yeah, let's grab a few more pieces of information about this. Where did the study take place? When did you do it? And who were you working with?
Yeah, so it was a project that me and some students came up with. So it was not like we had any funding for that, but we just wanted to do it because we found it's like a cool project. And we did this, I think, 1 year from now. I think in March 2019, we had the system up and running. And the study was done in a company, and it was done only in the men's washroom, I'd have to say, because we were not allowed to do it in the women's washroom, which had which was due to the fact that there were only I think 2 or 3 women's officers nearby, and you could not ensure totally anonymous data collection there. Yeah. So that's why we had it only in one washroom. And it was installed there for 10 days. And as I said, in the first 5 days, we only had the measuring device to see how long people were washing hands. And then we set up the really iPad and checked whether it has any effect.
Fascinating. I would love to see some or like the study to run again. What would it be? Like a reproduction of it?
Yeah.
Now with all of the like propaganda about
people there for 2 minutes.
Maybe you won't find any effects then.
Yeah, because I mean, all over social media, internet, everything, like you're seeing everybody go wash your hands. So if you run the study again, I wonder if you find maybe it will be hard to find results now, because I think people are very aware of the fact and are maybe washing their hands for much longer than they usually do. But I think a cool follow-up work to this would be to really give some instructions on how to do it properly, because we just measured the time, but we did not tell people how to wash their hands properly. So maybe this would be a cool follow-up.
I wanted to ask, did the observer note any not pushback, but any kind of shock of seeing something more at a sink than what is expected? Because if I went into a public, if I went to the JI washroom and there was iPads set up at every sink, I'd be like, okay, something's fishy here. Was there anything like that? Do you think that kind of, because you said the observer being present affected it. I don't know. I guess, is there any kind of stories from that kind of thing?
In our study, we didn't have any observer. This was just in previous work. So
that makes
we
sense.
just had the system installed, and we installed it between I think 8 a.m. and 3 p.m.
Okay.
And then someone came by and
So it's pretty unintrusive, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
it's pretty unintrusive. Nevertheless, we still. So when I was going there, for example, at 3 p.m. to take it away, and I met some people, they of course asked me what this is about
There
and
you go.
stuff like that. But we also had like a sign there because we had to tell people that we
Yeah.
are here capturing data and stuff, and such that they could also decide. We had a different washroom that they could use, which was not like
Okay, cool.
instrumented. So.
Makes
Yeah, to
sense.
make sure that they can even that they can provide consents to participate in the study.
Yeah.
I'm loving all the intricacies that
Yeah,
go into
that sounds
it.
so complex.
Yeah, it really was. We didn't expect it to be that complex, but there were so many parties involved that had to approve the study.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm gonna guess at how long it took you to actually be able to implement and run the study. Over a year?
No, not really. So this was a very sporadic idea.
Wow.
So we managed to implement it really fast, but it took longer to get all the kind of approvals that we needed to have. But yeah, fortunately, people were willing to help us because we were telling we want to get this ready for Kai Play, and it's now March and it's April is the deadline. So come on.
Yeah.
But
Interesting.
yeah. It took some time, but it was faster than we thought. But still, we had to go to many parties, so to many people, ask them if that's okay.
Do you know if this is the research that caught Leonard's attention and compelled him to reach out to you via Twitter?
No, I think this was after Leonard reached out via Twitter. Yeah, so it was so we presented this at Kai Play, which was in October. So it's not
I
too
see.
far
I see.
from
So then I guess the question that remains is, what is your PhD dissertation going to look like?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I would say it's a mixture between understanding factors that kind of influence the perception of gamified elements that can be used for behavior change, and applying this knowledge into or checking whether gamification has any effect in in the wild, so to say.
Okay.
So I'm doing, I would say, very theory-driven work where I just like have a look at like very basic research stuff, I would say. But then I also really, and that's actually what really motivates me, because I like this a bit more maybe even than this theory-driven work, to really build systems and test them in the wild. So we've been implementing like in things to motivate people to increase their step counts, and tested this in a wild study. We also worked on gamified ad blockers, which we implement. So it's like really different domains.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those are like use cases to show that the things that you find in theory actually work in the real life. So, or not. I mean, this can also happen. Yeah.
That's really cool. I would love a gamified or Gameful application of how to understand my computer.
Yeah, I think there were some approaches from Microsoft. Maybe you know Clippy, but they were not so successful.
I never used Clippy.
Yeah,
interesting.
So what games have you been playing during your trip, or something that's been occupying your time lately that you like to talk about?
So during my trip, I think I have not been playing games for quite some time, which is a bit sad. But the last games that I've been playing were Fallout 4.
Okay.
Also Far Cry 5.
Mm-hmm.
Horizon Zero Dawn. So
yes.
yeah. So I like those like action role-playing games, I
Yeah.
would say. So that's what I like pretty much. And these were the games that I've been playing lately, but I think I've not been playing any game for 3 or 4 months, so I should start playing a game when I'm coming back.
It seems like you're about to
Have
maybe
to a lot of time.
maybe I have some time now. Yeah,
because I suspect that you're gonna have to self-quarantine for a little while when you get home.
Yeah, so I think I don't have to, but actually, like the whole university has been shut down, and my company has been shut down, so I'm in home office either way. So yeah.
There you go. You can catch up.
Then I can
Animal
totally catch up
Crossing.
and play.
Yeah, seriously, that's so funny.
Yeah, I got Red Dead Redemption waiting for me at home.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm
That'll
not sure.
occupy 100 hours of your life.
I started it, but I didn't like it as much as I thought. But maybe I should give it another try. Yeah.
I mean, you can just play Horizon Zero Dawn again.
Yeah.
Spider-Man was great.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, okay.
I'm the last person to give video game recommendations, but board game recommendations, I got you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, take up D&D. That'll occupy the rest of your life.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, so speaking to that, this is our kind of capstone question. So think back through all of the meaningful gaming experiences you've had through your life. And if you could select one game and have everybody in the world play it, what game would you choose?
Maybe I'm gonna say Guild Wars here because I have so many like nice experiences that I had during this time. But I think Guild Wars is actually not, if you look at the game mechanics in a like very, let's say, objective way, I would say it's not like a very cool game or not very sophisticated, or it doesn't have a narrative that totally blows my mind. But somehow I had really cool experiences with this game. And maybe this was because of the time, because of the friends that were playing the game with me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think I don't know if I would recommend everyone to play this game, but for me personally, it was the game that I enjoyed the much, I think.
Great.
You hear the
most.
notes of the personalization in this.
Yeah, it's not going to work for everybody, but it works for me, right? That's
There
like,
you
yeah,
go.
that's it. Yeah.
But here's a fun twist adaptation to the question. If you could gamify something for everybody, what type of gamification application do you think the world needs?
What type of gamification application? That's actually a good question. I think
I thank you.
I think it totally makes sense to build gamified applications that help you to get fitter or do more sports. I think that's really important, or to eat healthily, or just also I think there's also a lot of like a potential in all this like educational settings. So I think the whole gamifying of schools and gamifying exercises and stuff like that, I think this also totally makes sense. So maybe if I had to, if I can name 3 domains that I think are important, then maybe physical activity, health as such, and healthy eating, and maybe also education, because I think gamification or gameful experiences could have huge potential to motivate students during class or even after class. So yeah, I think this is also a cool domain. Yeah.
Awesome.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to join. So
If somebody wants to, or somebody hears this and wants to reach out, what's the best way to contact you? Twitter, like Renner?
Apparently Twitter, yeah. But yeah, to be honest, I'm totally inactive in any social media. So I have like, I think 50 Twitter followers or so, and I'm never tweeting anything. But yeah, maybe I have a LinkedIn profile, and I think if you go to our our chair's website, so the Ubiquitous Media Technologies Lab, you can also find me there and can contact me. And you also get all like PDFs for our papers are there to be downloaded for free. So if you have any trouble to get them because you don't have an ACM account or whatever, you can also find them there. Yeah, or on ResearchGate.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, and have
thank you.
the safest of travels home.
Oh, thank you so much.